Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the GSMC Hockey Podcast, presented by the GSMC Sports Network. I'm your host, Garrison McDaniel, and as always, we have a great show for you guys today. We're in our first segment. We will be talking about the top free agents still available after, I think it's been 11 days of free agency so far. It started July 1st, it's July 12th. That's just simple math right there. But we're going to be talking about the top free agents still available, and what teams can really add these kind of guys. Next up in our second segment, we're going to be talking about the trade speculation. Amidst a very quiet week in NHL, not a lot of news going on this week, so we're still just speculating. I believe that there will be more trades going on later in the summer, but as for right now, it's been a little quiet. Third segment of the night is actually a segment that I've been looking forward to do since I started this hockey podcast. I'm going to be talking about the worst NHL jerseys of all time, because I don't think that there is a sport in history that has some of the worst jerseys that the NHL does, and we'll get into all of that in the third segment. In my fourth segment, we will be talking about the Carolina Hurricanes season preview. They're the next team up, and I'm also going to double it up with the Chicago Blackhawks season preview. I want to start moving these along a little bit so that I can get to all of them by the end of the summer. So that's what's on the docket for this GSMC Hockey Podcast. But before we get into all that, as always, if you guys want to help support the show in more ways than you already do, use the tips and donations link at gsmcpodcast.net. It does help us all a lot here at the GSMC Sports Network. It is much appreciated. So without further ado, we're going to get into this first segment of the night talking about the top free agents still on the board. So, Jacob Muzzin's probably the top one still on the board. He's 35 years old, just played in Toronto, coming off of a season where he had to finish up his season. He can definitely retire, but as of right now, he is still in free agent. Who could need a guy like Jacob Muzzin? Well, I mean, he's a big body defenseman. He's been playing in the NHL for about 14 years right now. He's only 35, like I said, but he definitely could be of service. He's 6'3", 227. This guy, like I said, big body defenseman. Doesn't score many goals, but has always consistently been a plus player, besides in the 2016-17 season with the LA Kings, where he was minus 21. But other than that, last year with Toronto, minus 6, but that is the Toronto Maple Leafs. But plus 21 in the 2021 season, the Shorin season. Plus 12, plus 11, plus 10, plus 10, minus 21, plus 7, minus 4, plus 8, plus 16. So throughout his career has had a very good plus minus, has played in 683 games at the NHL level. He is a good defenseman. I won't say fantastic, but he is a good big body defenseman that could definitely be of service to, these teams that, like a New Jersey Devils. Maybe New Jersey Devils is a good fit for this guy, of need of a defenseman, of some more veteran presence on that team. And Jacob Muzzin's can fit in with their, offensive first kind of mentality that they got going on in New Jersey. Another defenseman, a lot of the guys still on the board are defensemen. All of them are older players. Of course, this is free agency, but, looking at the age, like Brian Little, who I don't even have on the board, is 36. He's played for 15 years at the NHL level, last played in Arizona. I believe that he won't play another game in the NHL level, so I didn't put him on the board. Then Jacob Silfverberg is another guy that I'm kind of shocked is still out there. Winger, 33.8. I don't know why I put defenseman there. He's a right winger. I must have been looking at something else when I did put that, but that is my mistake. Jacob Silfverberg is definitely a winger. He has played in the NHL for 11 years, 33 years old now. Last played in Anaheim, or I think has played pretty much most of his career in Anaheim, if not all of it. Has played all of his career in Anaheim. He's been a fantastic player for the Ducks for a very, very long time. Played for them since the 2014 season, where he actually came over from the Ottawa Senators, but I don't think he ever really played for the Senators. He has he has been injured a little bit recently. He got injured in the 21-22 season in March and really hasn't been around since, so we don't know if he is healthy and is able to play. So, I mean, that's kind of the story with a lot of these guys left in free agency. Like Jake Muzzin, he got injured a year ago, had to miss 6 months of the season. Jacob Silverberg hasn't played in over a year and a half. Jacob Vrana, who actually did play last season, if I'm not mistaken, with the St. Louis Blues. This guy is kind of the NHL journeyman, but he is 28 years old, has already played for the Blues, the Red Wings, the Capitals in his career. Now he's in free agency again. Last year for the St. Louis Blues, played 21 games at the NHL level, went down to the AHL, and I mean, he did good at the AHL level, but I mean, it's a shock to see him all the way down there. He's had some pretty good seasons in his career. 19 points in 26 games for the Red Wings in 21-22, 25 points or 36 points in 50 games in 2020-2021 in that shortened season when he got traded from the Capitals to the Red Wings. 52 points in 69 games in 19-20. So, I mean, pretty consistent. The biggest problem with Jacob Vrana is his injury history. It seems like every season he's been injured, and it's kind of just finally caught up with him, so he's still on the board. And like I said, the guys that are still on the board in free agency aren't the guys that aren't gonna change around a franchise, but good bottom six guys like Tyler Johnson coming from the Chicago Blackhawks. He was on the first line for the Blackhawks for a lot of last season. Take that with a grain of salt. The Blackhawks were the second worst team in all of the NHL last year. But he definitely could be of service. I'm not saying that he could be a top line guy for a contending team by any means necessary, but he definitely could be a good third line winger for a team. He's pretty good on a power play as well. Has had a great career, of course, in Tampa Bay, helping them win some cups, then going to the Chicago Blackhawks. Tyson Barrie, another guy that's kind of just been everywhere, played for the Avalanche for a while, played for the Oilers, most recently playing for the Nashville Predators. He's 33 years old. If I'm not mistaken, I believe he's also coming off of an injury from last season, so that could definitely deter some guys. Maybe not last season. It was 2 years ago that he had an injury. So he definitely could be of service to a bottom six pairing. Teams that are they don't have to worry about plugging their system, their prospects coming up, can definitely go out for some of these veteran presence. We see it plenty throughout free agency and throughout the NHL offseason. So a lot of these guys will definitely be snatched up come August, come September, come October, when we're finally getting into some regular season games. Another guy, John Klingberg, most recently playing for the Toronto Maple Leafs, another defenseman from the Maple Leafs. He is also coming off of an injury, if I'm not mistaken. He's 31, gonna probably be 32 by the time the season rolls around, but he can definitely be of service once again. This guy, a good player for the Anaheim Ducks back in the day, definitely can be of service. Another guy, Max Pacioretty, that can be of service for a team. Forward, fantastic forward, has had a long history in the NHL, has been pretty good. Went from the Canadiens to the Vegas Golden Knights to the Hurricanes, and last season he was on the Capitals. Most recently making $4 million. I have it sorted by most recent AAV made. Kevin LeBlanc is another guy in here as well. Next up, Jeff Carter, another guy that, Jeff Carter is at this point a legend. He played for the Pittsburgh Penguins last season, was very serviceable for the Penguins last season, if I'm not mistaken. I believe he was around half of a point per game with the Penguins, and he played on their power play, so definitely a good player to put on your team. Looking at his hockey reference right now, I was way off, definitely not half a point per game, but he did have 11 goals in 72 games, which is pretty good for a fourth line forward who's 39. 79 games played in Pittsburgh, has played there the last 3 years. Before that, played for the Kings for a very long time, of course, being a part of some of those Stanley Cup winning teams. He's been a good player for a long time. Was there any truth to the rumors that Ottawa was going to trade Brady, and the main favor to get him was the Devils, or was that all BS? For Ottawa, I didn't see anything to trade Brady Tkachuk. I'd be shocked if they were to trade Brady Tkachuk. I think they're really, the moves that they made in this offseason, getting Linus Ullmark, and the next segment we'll be talking about trade rumors. But I couldn't imagine them trading Brady Tkachuk. There's no reason to. I mean, you have a good core that clearly wants to win now. Claude Giroux, Tim Stützle, and other players or other pieces. They re-signed a few good pieces on their team. I couldn't imagine them wanting to. Of course, like I said, acquiring Linus Ullmark, your biggest weakness was the goaltending position last season. So Anthony, to your question, I believe that would have to be just a rumor. There cannot be any truth to that, especially since, Brady Tkachuk is one of your captains, one of the main pieces to this core. Him and Tim Stützle are going to be building this team together and helping, push it through to get it back into the playoffs. It's been 7 years now since they recently made a playoffs. The moves that they made this offseason scream to me like a team that's trying to contend, so I couldn't imagine that being anywhere close to being true, especially not to the Devils. I don't think the Devils really have pieces to give up that Ottawa wants in a trade back, or that they're willing to give up, because they're not going to give up like a guy like Simon Nemec or a guy like Anton Silyev that they just drafted, who are probably their best trade baits, because you're not trading anybody from that forward core. You're not trading Jack Hughes. You're not trading Jesper Bratt, Nico Hischier, any of those guys. So yeah, I couldn't imagine that being any true. I would probably say that is mostly bullcrap. But that'll wrap it up for the top free agents still on the board, the first segment of the night. When I come back from my first break of the night, we will be talking about the updated trade rumors. I talked about it when free agency started, but a lot has changed since then.
I feel like I'm losing my mind. Is everybody in the world blind? Please, Lord, give me a sign, a sign. I feel like I'm losing my mind. Is everybody in the world blind? Please, Lord, give me a sign, a sign.
I wanna be the greatest. Everybody on the fake shit. I look around and feel like everybody is the fakest. I make this every day and I'm impatient, hoping one day I blow up from the basement. Statement, the top is so vacant. I don't hear shit that I think is amazing. Waiting for my day when I'm playing sold out shows for 1,000 faces. Hey, give me that crown, get in my way and to be put down. It ain't your place, all this my town. If I want that shit, then I'll get it right now. I'm losing it, the noose it fits. I'm losing shit, a stupid myth. You choose to live or choose to dip. You choose to fight or lose your grip and lose a gift.
I feel like I'm losing my mind. Is everybody in the world blind? Please, Lord, give me a sign, a sign. I feel like I'm losing my mind. Is everybody in the world blind?
Welcome back to the GSMC Hockey Podcast, presented by the GSMC Sports Network. I'm back with the second segment of the night, talking updated trade rumors, and I do apologize. That was a little bit off-centered, annoying me. Probably annoyed you guys as well. But updated trade rumors. I had a comment in my last segment talking about Ottawa Senators, and if a rumor between Brady Tkachuk and going to the New Jersey Devils had any weight to it. I don't believe it could. Like I said, he is too important for this team. The guy's going to be playing for Team USA next season, so I couldn't imagine that they are trying. I couldn't imagine that would be true. I'm looking up at an article right now. Senator GM denies rumors of team looking to trade Brady Tkachuk, which is good because that'd be insane. Ottawa Senators general manager Steve Staios shot down rumors that the team is looking to trade captain Brady Tkachuk. Yeah, I mean, there's who would they get back in a trade? Nobody is what I'm saying. But there are some big trade rumors that definitely do have a little bit of weight to them. One of the biggest ones that I've seen recently is Aaron Ekblad, assistant captain for the Florida Panthers. I'm seeing that he could be on the move from Florida, which would be insane. So the original rumor was for the Florida Panthers to maybe move him because they wanted to trade up, or they wanted to move him because they wanted to re-sign Brandon Montour, but they didn't do it. Brandon Montour is now on the Seattle Kraken, but I'm looking at an article from thehockeynews.com that is saying that there might still be a little bit of weight to it. During a Tuesday interview with a TSN reporter and an ESPN reporter was asked about rumors that the Florida Panthers could move Aaron Ekblad to free up cap space. The 28-year-old defenseman has a year remaining on his contract with $7.5 million on that contract. He also has a 12-team no-trade list. Emily Kaplan, who is the ESPN reporter, said it's difficult for the Panthers to keep their roster together despite the players being willing to accept less than market value to stay in Florida, which is true. Aaron Ekblad deserves way more than $7.5 million. She also pointed out their front office is unafraid to make hard decisions. That's very true. Bill Zito, the general manager for the Florida Panthers, has in the past traded superstars on their team to get better. Jonathan Huberdeau, ring a bell. While unable to confirm the Ekblad trade rumors, Kaplan indicated the Panthers are aggressive and it wouldn't surprise her if they moved the blue liner for a return that improved the team. Ekblad first surfaced in the speculation and rumor on June 2nd about the Brandon Montour stuff that I talked about. Nevertheless, the speculation persisted during late June as free agency approached on June 27th. David Duwork, who is a hockey news writer, cited the fourth period's Dave Pagnotta claiming the Panthers were shopping Ekblad. 3 days later, Rob Couch referenced Pagnotta saying the blue liner was willing to accept a hometown discount to stay in Florida, but the Panthers were shopping him anyway. This is really crazy. I mean, this is an assistant captain of a team that just won the Stanley Cup, potentially moving. Like, this doesn't happen very often. He also only makes $7.5 million. For Aaron Ekblad, he's definitely worth more. But when you look at his stats, right, when you look at just GA, which don't tell the story for a defenseman, it's not great. And when you look at his plus minus, which could tell a little bit better about the story for a defenseman, it's also not that great. So it's a shock, but it's not the wrong decision. And then the Panthers aren't under any serious pressure to trade Ekblad. They're above the $88 million salary cap by almost $1 million, with 24 active roster players under contract. Management can easily address that issue by demoting a low salary depth player or two to the minors before the start of the season. So that's no problem. But they definitely do need to move on from somebody, right? When you look at the Florida Panthers and what this team is doing, this entire offseason was bring the band back together who we wanted to bring back, right? When we look at the Florida Panthers contract, and I'm pulling it up right now, capfriendly.com does not exist anymore, so I have to find different ways to find this stuff. But when you look at the contracts, I mean, they have $10 million in Alexander Barkov. You cannot move Alexander Barkov. He has 6 more years remaining. Matthew Tkachuk makes $9.5 million. You can't move Matthew Tkachuk. Sam Reinhart has 8 years, just signed his 8 by 8.625 deal this offseason. Anton Lundell signed for a 6-year deal for $5 million AAV. And, Sam Bennett still has money on his contract. Carter Verhaeghe has $4 million. Evan Rodriguez has $3 million. Eetu Lehtinen, who they just re-signed, has $3 million on his contract. And then they have defensemen like Gustav Forsling, 5.75. Nico Mikkola, 2.5. Dmitry Kulikov, 1.15. Like, it all definitely does add up. And then they have the Sergei Bobrovsky $10 million contract as well. Getting pieces like Adam Bachfist for $775,000 is huge. Getting pieces like Jesper Bach, they got both Bachfist. They got Adam Bachfist and Jesper Bachfist, both for $775,000. big discounts for those guys. And then they also have players like Mackie Samoskevich, who is on a ELC still, who definitely could be on their roster next season. Rasmus Asplund, who could be on their roster next season. So the team looks very good, right? The team, there is no problem. And when you look at it, are they going to be able to re-sign Aaron Ekblad next season? Probably not. You have Sam Bennett that comes up next year. Carter Verhaeghe comes up next year. Both of them probably want to stay in Florida, I would imagine. I couldn't imagine why they wouldn't want to stay in Florida. So they're definitely going to need to spend some money on them. Is Aaron Ekblad the guy that leaves in Florida? Definitely, possibly. I wouldn't be shocked. Other big pieces that could be on the move this offseason. We've talked about him all offseason. It's Martin Necas for the Carolina Hurricanes. Still on the team, right? He filed for arbitration, which means that he probably will play for them next year, which I'm shocked. For how, like, it felt like they burned some bridges going into this offseason. In an article from, I believe this is from July 2nd, from after the NHL draft, it's written that he became a hot topic of media trade chatter following the Hurricanes' elimination for the playoffs, that he was unhappy with his role on the team. It was assumed Eric Tolsky, the Hurricanes' new general manager, would move Martin Necas before or during the recent 2024 NHL draft, and then another Blue Jackets and two Blue Jackets beat writer, Jason Newland and Elliot Freeman, both said that the Hurricanes wanted to move Martin Necas to the Blue Jackets for the 4th overall pick. That deal didn't get done because Martin Necas didn't want to sign in Columbus, so the sign and trade couldn't work out. So can he still be on the move? Honestly, by this point, I would be shocked if he was on the move this offseason. I can't imagine him not playing for the Hurricanes next year. However, looking forward, I would be shocked if he was on the team, in the future. I believe he only is eligible for a 1-year contract from an arbitrator. So when the deal does come to, when they do come to an agreement from both parties, he's only allowed to get a 1-year deal, which is definitely interesting to say the least. If you were the Hurricanes, you want to sign him for a longer term, so you don't have to go through all of this next season. But it seems like they're gonna have to go through it next season. Some other NHL trade rumors. Like Jacob Trouba. It seems like he won't be on the move. We saw what happened with his wife saying, "I want to finish my residency in New York," and Jacob Trouba having a no-move clause. So that just wasn't able to get done, and it does make sense. I am shocked about the lack of trades this offseason. We knew that the goalie markets were going to be moving around like crazy. We saw Ullmark go. We saw Jacob Markstrom go. We saw Anthony Stolarz go to Toronto. So we did see the movement in the goalie market that we expected. But when it comes to everything else, we're not seeing moves that we usually see in the offseason, right? We've grown accustomed to off seasons where big pieces get traded because there's a problem with a team here or there. And I guess this is kind of just going to boil over to the trade deadline, and I would be shocked to see, Jacob Trouba is not going to go anywhere. The deal with the Detroit Red Wings fell through. Martin Necas isn't going to go anywhere. The deal with the Columbus Blue Jackets fell through. Aaron Ekblad isn't going to go anywhere just yet. I would be shocked if the Florida Panthers get anything for him. I mean, Bill Zito's looking at it like, if we keep him, we're not going to trade him at the deadline, so we're just going to get nothing for him when he inevitably walks in free agency next year. And that's a hard pill to swallow for a defenseman you drafted number 1 overall 11 years ago, going to be 12 years ago when it does come, or no, it will be 11 years ago when it comes to next offseason. That's a hard pill to swallow if you're Bill Zito, but is it just worth it because you're trying to win a cup next season and you don't want to lose a number one defenseman because you wanted to get something for him? It does make sense. It's gonna be interesting to see what Bill Zito does. Once again, Emily Kaplan, the ESPN reporter, did say that Bill Zito has a long history of making cutthroat decisions to benefit the Florida Panthers. This could be another one. But that'll wrap it up for the updated trade rumors. When I come back with my third segment of the night, we're going to be talking about worst NHL jerseys of all time, one of my favorite subjects to talk about in hockey. So I'll be back from my second break, and that will be the topic.
Looking for your daily fix of sports talk without having to pay for it? GSMC Sports Network is available on YouTube. Just search GSMC Sports Network. Get your fix of daily sports talk shows on YouTube, absolutely free. NFL, college football, NBA, MLB, MMA, UFC, fantasy football, and so much more. GSMC Sports Network has shows running all day long, with new sports shows starting every 2 hours. Just like on your favorite cable sports channel, except GSMC Sports Network is absolutely free. Just search GSMC Sports Network on YouTube to catch one of your new favorite shows, like the GSMC College Football Podcast, Chip Shot Football Podcast, Hoops and Heels Women's Sports Podcast, GSMC Basketball Podcast, and so many more. Check it out for yourself. GSMC Sports Network, now available on YouTube absolutely free. Search GSMC Sports Network on YouTube right now.
Welcome back to the GSMC Hockey Podcast presented by the GSMC Sports Network. We're back with our third segment of the night talking worst NHL jerseys of all time. It's a topic that I love to talk about because there's been some horrendous NHL jerseys in the history of this league. So we got the graphic up. Worst NHL jerseys of all time. I'm excited for this one. The number 10 worst NHL jerseys of all time. It's the Islanders. I call them the practice jerseys because look at that. I mean, does that not just scream the Barclays Center, the worst NHL venue that there could possibly be? Those are bad. Those are not good. And it's not the bad the way that other jerseys on this list are going to be bad. Other jerseys are going to be bad for way different reasons. These jerseys are just ugly. Like, I couldn't imagine wearing them. The B on the sleeve with the 3 color, like, there's 4 different colors in this one. I get it's the Islanders color scheme, but why is there gray at the shoulder patches? Like, what's the point of that? It looks like I just made a Chell jersey and then we stuck it in there. But yeah, that's number 10. That's a rough one. Number 9, it's the Golden Seals, and maybe for the time these could have been good. But first off, I gotta talk about the colorway. Teal and yellow. Ugh. And then, all the arenas look so dark back in, like, the 70s. So when we're looking at, when we look at the play, it looks just dark and dreary anyways. And then the goalie pads make it so much worse here, where it's like, it's just gold and then the teal. And then the weird font of Seals, too. This one's just gross. This is number 9. It's still, it's a little bit worse than the Islanders practice jerseys, just because, look at the player right here, right? I don't even know who this is. Assistant captain number 60 something here for the Golden Seals. This is a little bit far back in my hockey knowledge. I don't think I could pull this random guy's name out of my keister, but for this guy, it's just all teal. It's all teal with a little white strips all around. Like, it's gross. This one's bad. Next up, number 8. We have the Tampa Bay Lightning, and I don't think that this photo does why it's so bad justice. The sleeves, this guy, is this number 12? Is this Vinny LeCavier right here? It might be. But he has the sleeves, like, a little bit crunched up so we don't see, like, the idea was so, like, thunderous and lightning. If you guys can look it up, the image on Google, unfortunately for my graphic here, it didn't crop correctly. But at the bottom too, there's like an ocean, like it's like an ocean theme, and it has the rain coming down, and it's like very graphic lightning, but it just doesn't work. It's way too busy. It's gross. You guys can't really see what makes it horrible, but it is really just bad. Just the sleeve right here, you see it on the very bottom left side of this photo right here. The yellow, it's bad. Next up, number 7 is the Anaheim Wild Wing Ducks jersey. It has it's wearing the jersey on the jersey. Like, what kind of breaking the fourth wall are we doing here? It has the jersey of the Mighty Ducks on it, and then they wore this as a reverse retro a couple years ago, which makes it even worse because there's no reason that this awful piece of Ducks history should have been, like, it might be better than the webbed D Anaheim Ducks logo, which thank God that they rebranded because they needed it badly, but it might be better than that, not by that much. It's not that great. I cannot stand these. It truly looks like Disney made these and said, since we have the Mighty Ducks movies and your guys are named the Ducks, we're gonna make you guys wear these jerseys that are just so Disney Disney coded graphics. Yeah, that's number 7. Number 6, the LA Burger Kings, because we got the Burger King logo up in the top right here. Wow. First off, the gradient just that cuts off the midsection is horrible. It was a horrible trend in NHL jerseys. There's 3 or 4 jerseys that have that gradient. I know the Vancouver Canucks have that ugly gradient. I think the Penguins had a very ugly gradient too. But I think that this one is by far the worst. First off, it goes from black to gray. That's boring. And second off, the logo just looks so bad. Why does he have a purple? I know that this was during the time where the LA Kings had the purple primary color, but it's still just, it does not look good. It doesn't fit the jersey because it's just black and gray and white, and then there's just this little bit of gold and purple. It's bad. I cannot stand those jerseys. It's the Burger King jerseys, as I call it. Number 5, the New Jersey jerseys. They wore the word Jersey on their jerseys. Yes, I get it. It's for New Jersey, right? The state, the name of the location. It's no excuse. They wore the word Jersey on their jerseys. What, are we going to put the word glove on our gloves now? Do we have to pant on our pants? Do we have to distinguish, what article of clothing we're putting on? Does somebody have to mention in these locker rooms? That's horrible. They put the word Jersey on their jerseys. These are bad. New Jersey jerseys are number 5. I also just love saying that. They're the New Jersey jerseys. Say that 10 times fast. I think it's actually pretty easy. But number 4 here, not the Toronto Maple Leafs, that I always think that this is the Toronto Maple Leafs because it has the Maple Leafs logo. This is the Montreal Canadiens barber poles. These jerseys are these jerseys are rough. It's just these aren't good. They got these are horrible, just an eyesore. And I get what makes them a little bit better. These probably should be dead last on a list. What makes them a little bit better is they're a throwback jersey, and they're throwing it back to 1920 or something here. So yeah, maybe it's a little bit better, and I think that it's for Canadians in World War I. I think was what they were honoring with the Maple Leaf. With the Maple Leaf, I know that that's why the Toronto Maple Leafs have their name is for the World War I soldiers. So I think that's what the Montreal Canadiens did here. We're honoring World War I warriors. But it's still just bad. The history amongst it, it's fine. Just wearing the Maple Leafs is definitely fine. I don't have a problem with that. But the colors are awful. Once again, looks like a Chell jersey that I try to make. Next up, number 3, it's the Nashville Adobe Cat. These jerseys are hideous. And the 3 in the graphic kind of blocks it a little bit. But these jerseys are actually horrible. First off, the logo is maybe one of the worst logos we've seen in NHL history. We'll get to another one that's definitely way worse, but these ones are horrible as well. Just the eyes of the Nashville Predator here is scary. This could haunt kids here. Like, nobody wants to own this jersey. Well, I guess some people did. Some people did buy it, but that's crazy. And then just the color scheme on the sleeves I don't like, and the weird like blocks of black on the sides I really don't like either. Just these jerseys are rough. The Nashville Dopey Cats come in at number 3. Number 2 is the Vancouver B jersey. Oh man, Vancouver has had some rough jerseys, like the hockey rink with a stick in the middle. I mean, that entire logo was very, very ugly, but I'm not going to fault them too much for that. These are some of the most eyesore jerseys I've ever seen. These are probably the most eyesore jerseys I've ever seen. And this is during the era where they had this the tilted Canucks circular logo. I wish I had a picture for you guys to see, but I do not have one close to me. Hopefully you guys know what I'm talking about. But these jerseys are horrible. And then they made them take a picture, like a family portrait of everybody in these jerseys. Why did they pick these jerseys? Oh man, these ones are like hideous. And what makes it worse is, like, I would get it if these were their primary home jerseys during the time. That's why they picked these jerseys. I'm like 80% sure that this was during the era in NHL hockey where you wore your where the home team wore their whites. So their home jerseys weren't even these jerseys, even if they were a primary jerseys, which I would be shocked if they weren't in alternate jerseys. These are horrible. Why did we make them take a picture of it? They must have thought it was like just a funny gag here. Look at the these are horrible. But that's number 2. And then number 1 is something that I honestly don't know if I could say. I could say it's the Muteris jerseys for the Dallas Stars. You could figure it out without me having to really explain it why they're called that. These are awful. Like, Marty Turco, legend of the sport. I think he's a Hall of Famer in the NHL, in the Hockey Hall of Fame. Why are we making him wear this jersey? We made Mike Modano wear this jersey, I'm pretty sure. Like, that is brutal. These are ugly. These are horrible. These are the number 1 worst NHL jerseys. Whenever I'm like making jokes with my buddies and we're talking about bad NHL jerseys, this is the one I go to first. The worst NHL jersey of all time. The Dallas Stars. Like I said earlier, I don't know if I'm allowed to say that on air, but I already said it. So the Muteris jerseys are number 1. It's horrible. It's just absolutely ridiculous that a serious NHL team wore these jerseys and said, "Yep, these are the ones." So there's definitely other jerseys that I would like to give honorable mentions too, like the Vancouver Canucks gradient. The red blue just doesn't fit their scheme whatsoever. There was a couple of reverse retros that I thought were absolutely hideous. The red Blue Jackets reverse retro I thought was absolutely disgusting. This coming from a guy that grew up in Columbus, a fan of the Blue Jackets. I thought those were hideous. And there's much more as well. But that'll wrap it up for the top 10 worst NHL jerseys of all time. I thought that we could get some comedic relief in this offseason, as this is a slow time in NHL news. But that'll wrap it up for this third segment of the night. When I come back from my third break of the night, we will be talking about the Carolina Hurricanes and giving the season preview for that team.
For the best and latest podcasts available anywhere, go to the podcast app on your cell phone and type in GSMC to access free content-rich podcasts on health and wellness, book reviews, sports, entertainment, relationships, social media, movies, technology, finance, and even weird news. Subscribe and download the GSMC Podcast Network's family of shows, available everywhere podcasts are found.
Welcome back to the GSMC Hockey Podcast, presented by the GSMC Sports Network. I'm back with the fourth segment of the night, talking about the Carolina Hurricanes season preview as we get into the Seas now in our season preview. No, we had Calgary. We have been in the Seas. The Seas make up a bulk of the NHL teams, if you didn't know that. It's got Calgary, Carolina, Colorado, Chicago, Columbus, just so many teams with C's. I think I forgot one. Did I forget one? Probably not, actually. But yeah, a lot of teams have C's in them, so this is a bulk of what we'll be talking about here. But anyways, for the Carolina Hurricanes, they had a few departures, a few big departures. They had Brady Shea, big piece of their blue line leaving in this offseason. Stefan Essen, a big forward, part of their top 9, sometimes in the top 6 last season as well, leaving. Brett Pesce, a defenseman, part of their top 4 in their defense, leaving, going to New Jersey. Teuvo Teravainen, a huge piece of their forward core, played on the first line for most of his tenure in Carolina. And Jake Gensel, another forward that just played on the first line for a second round exit team in the Carolina Hurricanes. This team was really, really good. And now this team looks to be not so good, which is a little bit of the concern. The Carolina Hurricanes are the team that definitely regressed the most in the entire NHL this offseason. They lost 5 huge pieces from last year and replaced them with Jalen Chatfield, Tyson Jost, Shane Gostisbehere, Jack Roslovic, and William Carrier. So let's just look at this, right? Let's just look at these trades, 1-for-1 trades, right? Brady Shea, Shane Gostisbehere. That's sure. As long as you improved everywhere else, this is fine. Jalen Chatfield, Brett Pesce. Probably taking Brett Pesce there. Actually, Jalen Chatfield was a re-sign. He wasn't even he didn't even sign to this team. So, Riley Stillman, is that who you're replacing the defense with? Maybe, or Sean Walker's probably. So Sean Walker for Brett Pesce, probably taking Brett Pesce there, no doubt. Teuvo Teravainen, you replaced him with Jack Roslovic. He's had his moments in wherever he's been. He's a very streaky player, let me tell you that. But I definitely go Teuvo Teravainen over. I definitely go Teuvo Teravainen over Jack Roslovic. Jake Gensel, Tyson Jost, probably downgrade there, and Stefan Essen, William Carrier, probably gonna go Stefan Essen there as well. They downgraded on all 5 guys that left their room. That's not how... And they went from a team that was on the outside looking into a championship contender from last season, now to this team has some holes, and some clear holes. When you look at the team's lines for next season, you're going to have Andrei Svechnikov, Sebastian Aho, Seth Jarvis. That's a good first line if Seth Jarvis can play to the level of play that we saw him play at. I just said play way too many times. But if he plays up to the level of play that we saw him play at in the series against the Islanders, I think that it could be pretty good first line. Next, Jack Roslovic, Evgeny Kuznetsov, and Martin Necas, pending Martin Necas, because he he still might not be on the team next season. That's not that great of a second line. Jordan Marinook, Jordan Staal, Jesper Fast, that's not that bad of a third line, and then William Carrier, Jack Drury, Jesperi Kokoniemi. It's not a bad forward group. That forward group is the forward group is a playoff forward group. But the problem I have with this team is when we get to the defense. Jacob Slavin and Brent Burns. I don't think we can rely on Brent Burns being a first-line defenseman anymore. This guy, he's well past his prime. I mean, Brent Burns is 39 years old. I think he's going to be 40 by the... I think he's going to be 40 by the time we get to this... No, he's going to be 40 during next season. He's still making $8 million a year. I mean, this is the problem that you're having. He's making $8 million a year, only for one more year. And actually, for the Carolina Hurricanes, I believe another team is paying a third of that as well. So, I mean, he's not making $8 million a year for Carolina, but he's still taking up $5.25 for them on their cap space. That's way too much for a player that He's going to be 40 next year. I don't think he's going to, like, I know he's not going to play to the level that, you know, Brent Burns is expected to play at. But he's not even, like, it's not going to be that great. And then Dmitry Orlov is making 7.75 for Dmitry Orlov's not that good. Jacob Slavin got extended. He's a good player. He's a good addition. I do like him a lot. That's going to be a rock in the defensive core. But Shane Ghost-Bear, who was awful last season in Detroit. Jalen Chatfield, who's not that good, who plays in the bottom six for a reason. And Sean Walker, who, you know, the jury's out on Sean Walker. Looking at his hockey reference page, it's not impressive, right? He last season played in only 18 games for the Colorado Avalanche, had 7 points, 63 games for the Flyers. In that season as well, only 22 points, so only 29 points in 81 games played in the season. Stayed healthy, but not gonna produce offensively for you. And the guy has had problems staying healthy in his career. In 2021, 2022, he was out for almost all of the season. 2020, 2021, I think missed like 2 weeks of action, and then in 18 and 19 only got 39 games played as well for the LA Kings. I don't think that he's going to be able to replace what you got from Brett Pesce. I know he's not going to be able to replace what you got from Brett Pesce. And then also your goaltending situation isn't that good. Freddie Anderson has just regressed. He just doesn't play at the level that you want Freddie Anderson to play. And then we still don't know what they're going to get from Kochetkov. We saw it flashes over the postseason, but it's still like not enough to convince yourself that he's a starting goaltender at the NHL level. And then when you look at their prospect pool, it's, I mean, what, just non-existent? Is that the word? Because it's just non-existent. They have probably one of the bottom 5 prospect pools in all of hockey. So this team looks a little rough. Losing Teuvo Teravainen is a huge hit. Losing Jake Gensel is going to be a huge hit. Losing Brett Pesce, losing Brady Shea, losing any one of these guys is going to be difficult to replace. You lost 5. You lost 5 guys of that caliber. Nesson, Pesce, Shea, Teravainen. Who was the 5th one? Gensel. It's not something that you can replace very easily, and it's not something that they were able to replace. They signed Jack Roslovic to a 2.8 for only 1 year. Just like they have way too many forwards that just like aren't that great, right? William Carrier, Jesper Fast, Jack Roslovic, Jordan Stahl, who is going to be 35, 36 next season, Jordan Martinook, just like not that great of forwards, and you're relying on this team to go out and be a playoff team. They still don't have Nichas or Seth Jarvis signed, by the way, and Jack Drury is not signed. All 3 of their RFAs still don't have contracts. This team doesn't look like it's going to be too good. I would be a little bit worried for the Carolina Hurricanes. Where do I have them for next season? Well, I honestly think that they're going to be on the wild card line. It's going to be a difficult spot. I think that they're going to end up with like 87, 88 points. Is that enough for a wild card spot? I don't know. And especially with the Atlantic and the other teams in the Metro getting so good. The Devils, I think, are going to be way better next season. I think the Islanders are going to be worse. But, I mean, the Capitals look like they want to be really good. The Rangers aren't going to go anywhere. The Flyers might be extremely good with Matvei Michkov. We don't know what that looks like. As I already said, the Devils and the Rangers, the Devils, the Capitals are all probably going to be playoff teams next season. And then that leaves, if the Atlantic doesn't take the last wild card spot, that leaves the Hurricanes, the Islanders, the Penguins, and the Flyers all competing for that last wild card spot. And that's without the Blue Jackets. The Blue Jackets can surprise everybody. They've had a top 3 prospect pool the last 5 years Is this going to be finally the year that their prospects play to the level that we all thought they were going to play? Probably not, but it's potential. I might have the Carolina Hurricanes on the outside looking in right now. I think I have them 5th in the Metro, around 88 points. That could be a shock to some people, but this team honestly doesn't look that great. So that'll wrap it up for the Carolina Hurricanes season preview. When I come back with my 5th and final segment of the night, we will be talking about the Chicago Blackhawks and give the season preview for a team that is looking to come out of a rebuild or still in their rebuild. We'll talk about that in our 5th and final segment on the GSMC Hockey Podcast. Welcome back to the GSMC Hockey Podcast, presented by the GSMC Sports Network. I'm your host, Garrison McDaniel, and we are into our 5th and final segment of the night, talking about the Chicago Blackhawks season preview we just did for the Carolina Hurricanes. Let's look at the Chicago Blackhawks now. I keep on saying Chicago, and I can't stand that I'm doing this. I've lived in Chicago for, it's not me doing it on purpose. I've lived here for the last 3 months, and I've suddenly gotten an accent from here. I don't know how that happened. Anyways, Chicago lost a good amount of players when free agency first hit. They lost Nikita Zaitsev, Tyler Johnson, Taylor Radish, Mike Hardman, and Sam Lafferty, who they were gonna lose. But they did add some good pieces, right? They added Ilya Mikheyev, who I think is still on the team in that trade for the cap dump that the Canucks made to make some re-signing. They added Craig Smith. They added Alec Martinez. They added Tyler Bertuzzi. They added Pat Maroon, TJ Brody, Teuvo Teravainen. Like, they were really busy this offseason. Really, really busy this offseason. And then they also signed Artem Levshinov to a 3-year entry-level contract. Artem Levshinov right now is not expected to be in Chicago next season. I'm going to get annoyed every time I say it. Is not expected to be in Chicago next season. He is expected to go back to Michigan State for another year in East Lansing. But their defensive core is not that bad without him. When you look at this forward core, now I will say all of this, it's still a little bit stinky. This team is still not that great. You have Tyler Bertuzzi, Connor Bedard, Teuvo Teravainen is supposed to be that first line. That first line is pretty good. Last year it was Taylor Hall, Bedard, and Nick Foligno or Tyler Johnson were there. Sometimes it was Foligno, Bedard, Johnson, Hall, Bedard. They mixed it up a lot last season. But Bedard played on the first line, right? He is a first line center. He's just supposed to be up there, and he did a lot last year. He is a fantastic, fantastic player, and probably the second best player in all of the NHL right now to build a team around. And that's what the Blackhawks are trying to do. So Tyler Bertuzzi, Teuvo Teravainen. Teuvo Teravainen is a huge addition for this team. I wasn't too impressed with the Tyler Bertuzzi signing, especially if he is going to play with Bedard. But when it comes to Teuvo Teravainen, however, that is a fantastic player to play with Connor Bedard. This guy can score, and he understands how to be a supplementary player to a superstar. He did it with Sebastian Aho for many years in Carolina, and now he's looking to do it in Chicago. Second line is Taylor Hall, Andreas Athanasiou, and Philip Kurashev. That's not great. Taylor Hall, coming off of a major injury, had signs of regression, but even before the injury, is he going to be the same player that he was? Probably not. Andreas Athanasiou, is he a second-line center right now? Probably not. Philip Kurashev, probably not a second-line right winger either. This team is not, like I said, this team's not good. It is a little bit stinky. Nick Foligno, Jason Dickinson, and Ilya Mikheyev is looking to be their third line right now. That's a pretty solid, just hard third line. Good penalty killers on that third line. Not going to score too many goals. Hopefully, Connor Bedard can put up 200 goals this season for the Blackhawks to get them into playoff contention. Of course, that is a hyperbole, and he is never going to be able to reach that mark. But, what I'm saying is he needs to have an out-of-body experience this season to even be able to have this Blackhawks team in contention, because it's not good. Lucas Reichel, Ryan Donato, and Craig Smith make up their fourth line. Craig Smith, a good PK guy for that fourth line, but other than that, Ryan Donato does not move me much at all. Lucas Reichel doesn't move me much at all. And then our defensive core. Alex Vlasic, Seth Jones. Alex Vlasic isn't that good. Seth Jones has regressed a lot since his playing days in Columbus. That would definitely concern me if I were them. Kevin Korchinski, Connor Murphy. Now that's a pairing. That can look pretty good depending on their day, right? Kevin Korchinski has the mistake in him, has that very costly turnover. But when that pairing is on, especially an offensive defenseman with Connor Murphy is pairing up with Kevin Korchinski, that can look pretty good. And then their bottom pairing defenseman, it's Alec Martinez and TJ Brody. Now, in a few years, right, when this defensive core is set to where they want it to be, something like Kevin Korchinski, Artem Levshinov, Connor Murphy, it's not that great, right? But it has a future, and you don't need, as long as they could get supplementary pieces around those guys, it could look very good, because we know what the ceiling of Artem Levshinov and Kevin Korchinski can be very, very high. So they only have 6 roster defensemen to contract. Looking into their system, it doesn't look too impressive either when it comes to the defensemen, besides Artem Levshinov, and Isaac Phillips, Lewis Kreiber, Nolan Allen, Ethan Del Mastro, Wyatt. It's not that great. And then their forward prospect core isn't that great either. A lot of their prospects just play for their team, like Philip Kurashev, who's 24 years old, Connor Bedard, who is still only 18 years old. Still insane. This kid is so young and so good. Frank Nazar might play for their team next season. Landon Slager is probably going to be in there. Going back to Landon Slager played for Notre Dame last season. The only reason I know that is because, of course, I was the Ohio State men's ice hockey beat writer, and they did play Notre Dame in Columbus. I think that was actually the first game I wrote. But anyways, I'm on a tangent. Coming back to this team. It's not great, right? This Blackhawks team doesn't look good. It's going to be another year of rebuild in Chicago. I said it again. I'm just going to call them the Blackhawks. I keep on distracting myself with that. Anyways, the Blackhawks, it's going to be another year of rebuilding. They're going to be a bottom 5 team in the NHL next season, unless Bedard just has an out-of-body experience where he's just the best player in the NHL next season. It's going to look pretty bad for the Blackhawks. So I had them around 70 points next season, bottom of the Central. The Central is very, very competitive, with the Dallas Stars being as good as they are, with the Colorado Avalanche being as good as they are. Looking down the board, the Stars, the Jets are going to be good. The Avalanche, the Predators, of course, are going to be extremely good with what they got this offseason. The Blues aren't going to go anywhere. The Wild are going to be pretty good. And then the Utah Hockey Club is probably going to be in the mix as well with their blue line addition. So, it just leaves the Blackhawks to being a bad team again next season. I think around 65, 70 points is where I put them at. They're going to be around 7, 8th worst team in the NHL. They're not going to be a top 3 pick next season, I don't think, but they definitely aren't going to be that impressive. I'm very intrigued to hear your guys' thoughts down in the comments below. If the Blackhawks or the Hurricanes, or if the Blackhawks is going to be competitive, or the Hurricanes are going to be a for sure playoff team. Prove me wrong. I would love to hear it. But that'll wrap it up for this Friday edition of the GSMC Hockey Podcast, presented by the GSMC Sports Network. Thank you all for your support and comments. I do enjoy when I get to talk with you guys, have a conversation with you guys. So if you guys did enjoy this edition of the GSMC Hockey Podcast, make sure that you like and subscribe on YouTube. Make sure you rate us on whatever podcasting platform you're listening to this on, whether that's Spotify or Apple Podcasts. Thank you all once again for tuning in, and have a fantastic and wonderful evening.
Let's go. I wake up to a little bit of drool on my pillow, feel like it's gonna be a bad day. Yeah, I'm tired of shit.